One opposing head coach just did something that's never happened in WNBA history. She didn't just praise Caitlin Clark. She humiliated an entire coaching staff in the most professional way
She said Caitlin named more in one press conference than Stephanie White has wanted to say all season.
possible, and nobody's talking about the real reason why. Sandy Brondello stood at a podium after losing to Indiana and spent 60 seconds describing Caitlin Clark with more specificity.
Yeah, she's a hard guard because she's coming with so much speed in the transition with the high drags. I mean, we're just trying to crowd her as much as we can and then shrink off certain other players. But yeah, she's just crafty. I think, when Slim wasn't there and Julie wasn't there, they were our two main players that were guarding her to a high level. And Maria, she played hard, but she's Caitlin is just really too crafty. So, Caitlin's a great player, and she certainly, she created. 14 assists. She's creating for her teammates as well too.
More enthusiasm and more basketball intelligence than Stephanie White has managed across an entire season of coaching her. That's not a small detail. That's a statement. A message wrapped in professional language directed at Clark herself.
It's a lot of funny business going on with the Indiana Fever. They never protected Caitlin Clark from this smear campaign.
At the Indiana Fever front office and at every team watching. The message was simple. Indiana doesn't deserve her. Here's what makes Brondello's moment so significant. Context matters enormously. Toronto just lost to Indiana. Brondello had spent all week designing a defensive scheme specifically built to stop Caitlin Clark. Every adjustment, every assignment, every coverage was calculated to limit her impact. The plan failed catastrophically. Clark dropped 14 assists. The defense collapsed into confusion. Ball watching instead of execution. Everything Toronto tried to do simply didn't work. In that situation, most coaches follow the script. They give vague credit to the opponent, move on quickly, protect their competitive intelligence. Brondello did the complete opposite. Instead of deflecting, she leaned in. She described what Clark did to her defense in loving, specific detail. The speed in transition, the high drag screens, the craftiness that made every coverage look foolish. This wasn't a reluctant acknowledgement from someone who just suffered a loss. This was intentional, calculated. A coach making a point to an audience she knew was listening.
Before going further, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you the content you love. Share this video with your friends so they don't miss out on all the drama and excitement.
She's coming with so much speed in the transition with the high drags. We're just trying to crowd her as much as we can and then shrink off certain other players. But yeah, she's just crafty. I think, when Slim wasn't there and Julie wasn't there, they were our two main players that were guarding her to a high level, and Maria, she played hard, but Caitlin is just really too crafty.
Let's put these two coaches side by side because the contrast is where the real story lives. Sandy Brondello, the opposing head coach who just lost to Clark, described her this way. She's a great player. She creates 14 assists. She's filling up the entire stat sheet. Not only the ability to score, but the ability to get everybody else involved. Detailed, specific, admiring, technical. That's how you talk about a generational talent. Now listen to what Clark's own head coach, the person whose literal job is to develop and maximize her best player, has been saying all season. Good job, see that's it. After game winning shots, after 32-point performance.
She said Caitlin named more in one press conference than Stephanie White has wanted to say all season.
Performances, after masterclass playmaking against specifically designed defensive schemes. Good job, see two words, no detail. No enthusiasm, no acknowledgement of what actually happened on the court. The humiliation isn't in what Brondello said explicitly. It's in the contrast that exists whether anyone intended it or not. An opposing coach understands Clark's impact better than her own coaching staff. Here's what people are missing about this moment. Brondello's press conference didn't exist in a vacuum. It happened at a specific time in response to a specific context, directed at a specific problem that's been building all season inside the Indiana organization. Throughout 2025, narratives have been circulating through media figures and anonymous sources suggesting that Clark is a problem player, that her behavior is the issue, that she's difficult, that she doesn't fit the culture. These stories didn't appear randomly. They came from people connected to the Fever organization. They were designed to shift the conversation from why isn't this coaching staff maximizing the best player in the league to Clark herself is the problem. When Brondello stood at that podium and described Clark as too crafty, too fast, as someone who
Caitlin's a great player, and she certainly, she created, 14 assists. She's creating for her teammates as well, too.
creates 14 assists through pure basketball excellence, she was directly contradicting that entire narrative. She wasn't just praising Clark. She was publicly invalidating the story her own organization has been quietly building against her. That's not a neutral act. That's a statement, and Brondello absolutely knew what she was doing. Now let's talk about what Brondello's press conference reveals about how Clark should actually be deployed. Brondello specifically identified the Clark-Boston two-woman game as something her team had no answer for. The very combination that Stephanie White...
She can fill it up, the entire stat sheet. The entire stat sheet. Sandy Brondello, we might need to keep you on speed dial. Things aren't, haven't been smooth sailing over here.
...has been stepping away from all season. The most unstoppable action in women's basketball, according to every team that's faced it, and the coaching staff most capable of deploying it keeps choosing not to. Think about what this means. An opposing coach just publicly confirmed that Clark operating freely with maximum ball handling responsibility is essentially unguardable, not because she's a scorer.
The girl was too much. Sandy Brondello recognizes the greatness of Caitlin Clark. Not only the ability to score, but the ability to get everybody else involved.
Though she is, but because she makes everyone around her better. She fills the stat sheet in every direction. She's the gravitational center that forces defenses into collapse. The picture emerging from Brondello's analysis isn't just that she respects Clark. It's that she understands Clark's game better than the person currently responsible for developing it. She'd deploy it differently, more effectively, with actual confidence instead of hesitation. Here's where this story gets interesting beyond basketball. After describing Clark's brilliance, one media voice mentioned off-season plans and Snapchat apps staying ready. The implication was clear but never explicit. Sandy Brondello just sent a message.
It's a lot of funny business going on with the Indiana Fever. They never protected Caitlin Clark from this smear campaign.
Message to Caitlin Clark, and Clark understood it. An organization that actually valued what Clark does would build its entire offense around her speed in transition, her high drag playmaking, her ability to generate 14 assists against crowded defenses. It would celebrate her publicly. It would stand at press conferences and describe her excellence in specific, enthusiastic terms.
A lot of funny business going on with the Indiana Fever. They never protected Caitlin Clark from this smear campaign. And we might be making a move here in the offseason. So Sandy, keep your Snapchat app up and working.
The Toronto Tempo, under Brondello's direction, would do exactly that. We know this because Brondello just spent an entire post-game press conference describing in technical detail why Clark is unstoppable when operating freely. That's not the language of a coach who would limit her role. That's the language of a coach who would unleash her completely. The Indiana Fever never protected Caitlin Clark, not from the smear campaign targeting her character.
Caitlin Clark and Sandy Brondello might have to put a little plan together for this offseason. Let's take a look at what she had to say.
Not from coaching decisions limiting her basketball impact. Not from the organizational messaging designed to make trading her seem reasonable rather than catastrophic. Sandy Brondello, an opposing coach, walked into a post-game press conference after losing and did more to protect Clark's reputation than Indiana's entire organization has managed all season. She called her a great player. She specified the 14 assists. She acknowledged the complete skill set. She made the basketball case so clearly that there's no room for the behavior narrative to survive alongside it.
Sandy Brondello, we might need to keep you on speed dial. Things aren't, haven't been smooth sailing over here. It's a lot of funny business going on with the Indiana Fever. They never protected Caitlin Clark from this smear campaign. And we might be making a move here in the offseason. So Sandy, keep your Snapchat app up and working.
You cannot simultaneously argue that Clark is a cultural problem and acknowledge that she generates historic playmaking numbers through pure basketball excellence. Brondello made one case so well that the other one collapsed.
Sandy Brondello, we might need to keep you on speed dial. Things aren't, haven't been smooth sailing over here. It's a lot of funny business going on with the Indiana Fever. They never protected Caitlin Clark from this smear campaign. And we might be making a move here in the offseason. So Sandy, keep your Snapchat app up and working.
Caitlin Clark deserves a head coach who talks about her the way Sandy Brondello does. Someone who sees what she does. Someone who builds systems around that skill set instead of away from it. Someone who stands at podiums and says specifically, accurately, enthusiastically that this player is different from every other guard in the league. The clock is ticking on this situation.
Sandy said it. She's moving too fast. She's too crafty. We tried to crowd her. We tried to keep multiple bodies in front of her. But what are we going to do? The girl's throwing for giving out 14 assists, throwing backdoor passes over here, backdoor passes over there, kicking out for threes over here. The girl was too much.
The basketball world knows it. Sandy Brondello knows it. The only people who don't seem to understand are the ones running the Indiana Fever. An opposing coach just made the case for their own player better than they ever have. And somewhere, that message is being received loud and clear.